I'm Benjamin. I came to QUT from Singapore about 3 years ago. If you asked me about 2.5 years ago, would I recommend QUT, I mean film and TV in particular, for any of my friends back home in Singapore, I would probably say yes. I would say, definitely you have to go to QUT because it's probably one of the best film schools in Australia. But now with this, the way I feel about it, the way the sense of things that I get from QUT is that I think if people ask me right now, I would say, take a look at Griffith instead, because I've spoken to people from Griffith, and the attitude that people have in Griffith, the whole environment at Griffith seems to be like what QUT was about 3 years ago. And it's really sad that that's happening, because I think QUT has a very good reputation around, especially in Singapore, because there are a lot of Singaporean students who actually come to QUT, not just for film and TV, but for other courses of study. And all these things that's going on now is just this whole situation with what's happening with Gary and John and the whole, their rights to speak up against something that they believe to be wrong and being punished for it. It just seems wrong. I mean, it just seems to go against everything that has been taught, that the Australian media seems to stand for. I mean, they always talk about freedom of press. And
I think if you look back on the 10th of May, an extraordinary thing happened here in Australia. All of the media proprietors got together and said, Australia is in a perilous state. We rate 35th on the world stage for freedom of speech. We're down there with Bulgaria.
Yeah, you use the power of the press, you use your freedom to speak, but you'll be punished for it, and it just feels so much like home.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Free speech, free thought.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Save Gary, it's not too late.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Free speech, free thought.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Save Gary, it's not too late. Woo!
It's a very different environment for me, because coming from Singapore, where there is a lot of control over what you say in the media and what you say in the press and everything. I came to QUT, and my first experience of QUT was that it's a very free place where students are encouraged to speak their minds, and lecturers then seem to encourage students to explore all areas of, not just one area of film, but all areas of film, and think about what they're saying and what they want to say. And the very first lecture I attended in QUT was conducted by Dr. Gary McLennan, in fact, and it was a completely different, life-changing, I would say, not really life-changing, but it was definitely a very different class from all the previous lectures that I've ever attended in my entire life. And my respect for that man started that day. And the chance to work with Gary was one of the main motivations for me to come back to QUT, because I could have gone somewhere else. I could have gone to many different universities. I mean, I had my choices, but because I knew that by coming back here, I would be able to work with those two men again, it swung the favor in favor of QUT because of those men, and it just puts a damper on my studies right now, because it's difficult to imagine starting a project with them on board and then finishing it with them not around. I mean, I've been through about almost 1.5 years with them as my supervisors, and their influence and support has been amazing during this entire time. And now, when I'm so close to finishing, it seems that I have to start all over again, explaining myself to a new bunch of people, trying to get them to understand, what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to do it. It's just very, very tiring. But for the reputation of the university to support a project like this, it does talk to you about the morals and the ethics behind, the people who run the university. I mean, you have to question, what are they trying to achieve? What are they trying to say by putting the QUT logo on that film? What are they saying? Are they saying that we're supportive of you when you make fun of people with a disability, or are they saying, these people are disabled, let's make films about them, let's make comedies about them and laugh at them, and then in hope that people around will realize the plight that they're in. There's so many things that can be said, but I think it's best to avoid stuff like this, for university in particular, because you are a place of education, you are a place, you know, and your reputation comes not only, actually the reputation of university comes from the students that it produces and from the lecturers which teach there. And believe me when I say this, no one actually goes to university because of the bureaucracy, because of the administrators who run the place. People come here to study because of the reputation of the lecturers, of the teachers, and from the successes of its students. So by losing Dr. Gary and Dr. Hookham, I fear that the reputation, I mean, the quality of lecturers in QUT will suffer, because these two men are very great, are really great academics and teachers. I think of all the lecturers that I've been with during my time here at QUT, the one that stays with me for the longest will probably be Gary McClendon. I've never had a lecturer or a teacher like him before, and I doubt I ever will. And he's been a great influence in the way I look at things, in my progression, not just as a student, but as a human being. And he has taught me to not just look at things from one side, but to look at things from all sides, and then decide for yourself where you want to stand. And when you make that stand, you should not be afraid that other people will disagree with you, because you're making a stand based on your own moral judgments and your own ethical decisions. So I think that's been a very, very huge influence in my life.
When I was 20 years old, I was walking down University Avenue in Belfast, and for some reason I said out loud to the universe, I will never sell out. I don't know, I was sober even at the time. And I said that. And that's my advice to, of course, be careful, be cautious, but do not sell out. Do not betray your hearts, because your heart is a lonely hunter. Your heart hunts and seeks for transcendence.
I think the greatest legacy John and Gary can leave behind is the students that they've influenced. I mean, if you were at the rally the other day, and if you saw the rally earlier that took place earlier at Kelvin Grove, you can see the number of former students and current students that have come out in support of them. And I think as teachers and as academics, that's probably the strongest legacy they can take away from this. Is the amount of influence that they have had on students, and the fact that students have taken what they have taught, and and it has actually influenced their lives.
And what will endure is the best things we have thought, the best things we have said, and the best things we have written and danced, etc. Those are the things that will survive. And that's where I draw inspiration and hope from. Not the ephemera of the market. It's what endures in the human heart. And those are the resources of hope in what is admittedly a dark time.